Hi, my name is Sham, like Sham and Natsuo, and this is
Natsuo like Natsuo the Gecko.
And today we are going to talk about
Sports.
Sport. Not just any sport, because you're supposed to come to my house today and we may or may not have watched a particular sport, which you're very fond of, aren't you?
A bit, yeah.
Quite a bit.
I'm what you might call a casual in that I'm not like a die-hard fan. I don't know that much about it, but I like boxing. Yeah.
Boxing?
Boxing, yeah. I think boxing is cool. I think boxing is becoming just generally very popular though.
Yeah, I mean, he's not talking just about boxercise. He doesn't just like watching people do boxercise.
Although I do like that as well.
Competitive boxercise.
Competitive boxercise.
That's basically all boxing is competitive boxing.
Yeah. This is just glorified boxercising. That's how boxing started. It started as boxercise, and then it slowly evolved into the sport that we know today.
Boxercise came first. That's all Tyson Fury does, really.
Well, boxing started as a sport. It started in the early '90s, after it was based off of like these VHS tapes that were released in the '80s, where people were doing sort of punching movements that were a form of exercise called boxercise. And then people were like, hey, you know what? This could be like a good sport, not just a good workout. Let's create this sport called boxing.
Yeah, let's take away the exercise and call it boxing. So there's one really famous boxerciser called...
Oh, his name is so hard to say.
What's his first name again?
Naoya.
Naoya Inoue. Inoue. Now it's difficult for me to say. You've rubbed off with
I kept mispronouncing. Inoue, yeah.
Inoue Naoya.
It's just two vowels right next to each other, so it's really hard. But previously I was calling him by the wrong name. I was saying Inoue. But it's Inoue.
It's Inoue.
I think his name is difficult for like non-native speakers. I think, actually, I know that for a fact as a non-native speaker, and also just watching a lot of the people talk about Naoya or Inoue on like boxing podcasts and stuff like that. He is like on the pound for pound list, meaning like he's a very big celebrated boxerciser, you know, known and respected for his boxercising abilities. And yet people still, like, when they're discussing him, they're like, what's his name? Or like, how do you say his name? So I think they just go by his nickname.
I think, what's his nickname?
The Monster.
The Monster. Well, I mean, I think a lot, if I were to Americanize or Britishize his name, so Inoue.
If you were to Britishize it, you just have to say his name like Michael Caine would say it, speaking to like a adolescent boy. Just imagine
his name. He's Inoue.
Just imagine you have Naoya and you just got him sitting on your knee, and you're
telling him his name.
You're talking to him about. You're giving him some sort of important life lesson.
So so let me get this straight. I'm Michael Caine, and I've got Inoue.
He's an adult.
But you're talking to him. A famous boxer.
Yes.
On my lap.
On one knee, yeah. Like a child would say.
Alright, why don't you try that now?
No, well, maybe later.
Why don't you try that here, and I'll just say, listen, Inoue.
No, you should call him by his first name, because Michael Caine's British, and it would be sort of unnatural.
Okay. So I've got him here, right?
And you're talking to him about what's something you would talk to a child about, like
not eating if he eats all his breakfast, he'll become.
It's gotta be something
strong.
super British too.
If he eats all his,
he's gotta eat all his like
porridge,
his peas or something. You know, he can't just eat bangers every day. He's gotta eat his vegetables.
Listen now, yeah. You can't just eat bangers and mash every day. Every so often you got peas. and baked beans.
Yeah.
Oh, Michael Caine. Yeah, it's difficult.
It is.
This isn't what we're supposed to do. So today, Inoue is facing
a guy named I think his name's Stephen Fulton.
Stephen Fulton.
I think his name's Fulton. Yeah, his last name's Fulton. Who incidentally,
He's from
Philadelphia. He's from West Philadelphia, which is the neighborhood that I'm from.
same neighborhood.
Kind of. Probably. I mean, probably from West Philly is like a huge area, but yeah, for all intents and purposes, yes, same neighborhood.
So I imagine you are supporting your homeboy, Mr. Fulton.
It's fun. Yeah, you might think so, but actually, I knew nothing about him prior to being scheduled to fight him.
Oh, okay.
And honestly, I don't watch that many fights. I just think that I've only seen a couple. I just think it's cool that there's like a Japanese boxer who's on pound list. He's in a lower weight class. I think it's cool for like sports, Japanese sports. I don't know. I think Japan has a history of having good boxers in the lower weight classes, but I don't think that many people necessarily know about them because obviously I think people are more drawn to like the heavyweights, the sort of like welterweights, but I don't know that I don't think that maybe Japanese boxers are as competitive in those divisions just because I think people are a little bit like smaller maybe.
Yeah, I think,
but I think it's cool to have him be this,
But at the same time in England we had Prince Nassim. Wasn't he like a worldwide superstar? Like in America, was he?
But he wasn't that small. I don't
He
think.
was a lightweight,
Yeah, but compared to like Nalia, who's like a featherweight, like today they're this is
There are
difficult.
way more weight classes, aren't
There's probably more weight classes, but also I don't know what it would be in kilos, but he's fighting today at 122 pounds. So that is like very small. Like that's less. I don't know how many kilos that would be. Like I'm 146 pounds. I'm
He's lighter than you.
Yeah, definitely. I'm like 67 kilos, and he weighs 20 pounds less than me. So he weighs like 10 kilos less than me. When he's fighting, in real life, probably, or maybe he's bigger. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I would never fight at my natural weight because I would just be. I would never fight generally, but fighters don't fight at their natural weight.
And why is that? What do you mean? They get lighter, or?
Just a thing in combat sports generally is cutting weight is part of the sport.
And why is that?
I think it gives you a competitive advantage
In terms of
you weigh in at that weight, but for the actual contest, you can gain a lot of weight back. So depending on, I think it depends, and this is where my sort of casual relationship with this sport really shows. I don't really know the exact rules, but I think so. For example, I might box, let's just say hypothetically, or let's use wrestling, because I actually did that a long time ago. Let's say I wrestle at 125 pounds, okay? But I really weigh 145 pounds. If I have if I have the physical frame, bone structure for walking around at 145 pounds, but I'm cutting weight to 125, and somebody else wrestles at 125, but they're only cutting 10 pounds, or maybe they're going up, or maybe they weigh exactly 125 pounds. They're probably going to be physically smaller than me, and in the contest, that's going to give me an advantage, right? Because in a sport where you're fighting somebody or you're using like your body like that in any sort of combat sport like judo, whatever, if you're stronger than your opponent, it's an advantage, and I think that's you always want an advantage in a competition, right?
Wait, so they cut their weight to basically seem lighter for the weigh-in,
And then they gain.
but actually they're much heavier.
On the fight night,
But
yeah.
really, so it means they're much stronger, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But then both competitors, I assume, do this. Now the interesting
But
thing,
some people do it more than others. Some people drastically cut weight.
but that's the thing I want to know now, is that actually in a way is moving up a weight division for this fight, isn't it?
He's moving up a weight division, but he's still, I'm sure, far below what his natural weight would be if he wasn't a professional athlete who's constantly being mindful of like what they eat and training for a specific division. Like, I don't think he would weigh, I'm assuming, I don't know how tall he is, but I'm assuming he's around the same height as me. Probably taller than me. I'm 165, 166, something like that. So, like, most people are taller than me, I think, in Japan. Or, like, I'm on the shorter side. So I think he's probably taller than me. And for somebody taller than me to weigh 10 kilos less than me, I think that's, like, really skinny, I think.
That's pretty unusual.
I think that would be a bit unusual. Yeah.
And so, I mean, it's interesting because you are mixed Japanese American and you are from Philadelphia.
Yeah.
But you want Inoue to win because he's basically a representative of Japan. It's cool that you think it's cool that Japan has someone who's like one of the best in the world at this.
Well, honestly, it's like a win-win. You know, it's like if either of them win, it's cool. Like I'll be like if Inoue loses and this guy Fulton wins, like that's cool too because he's like a local dude. You know what I mean? Somebody who doesn't seem like they were getting a lot of like mainstream attention. And if you beat somebody who's on the pound for pound list, if you beat somebody of Inoue's like stature, I think it's automatically gonna catapult you into like stardom and fame. You know, he's probably very well known within people who know about boxing, but to the general public, and I think most of the general public doesn't follow boxing that closely anyway, but to like someone like me, who's like a casual fan, like I don't really know about him. Even though he's from the same city as me.
You don't know about him?
No, I didn't know anything about this guy. But, you know, so that would be cool to have somebody from Philly who like achieves that level of stardom. Like that would be cool, but at the same time, you know, yeah, I guess I knew about Naoya first.
Yeah.
And there's just like not many Japanese like boxers, I think, who are that famous, or even athletes who are like world famous. I think like I can't think of that many. You know.
I mean, outside of wrestling, they're pretty good at wrestling, right?
I mean, nobody like wrestling isn't even a thing. I think outside of the Olympics,
Yeah.
and I don't think Japanese are that good. I think Americans.
The women, the female wrestlers for Japan.
That could be the case, but I think Americans and like Eastern European countries are really good at wrestling. Maybe like Cuba's really good. Like Japan dominates in like judo, of course, things like that. But nobody like there's no like world famous.
And
judo
ice skating.
athlete. Yeah, but no one's like you don't know.
Oh, dude, there's a massive population.
Yeah,
I think
I guess
you're so far removed.
Yeah, I guess I'm just so American too, like that. Like I'm not really. It's not like, you know, like LeBron James or something.
Yeah.
Or like, I don't know. I feel like boxing is such like it's like an international sport, right?
Mm.
And there's definitely certain regions of the world that like seem to dominate it or something, or have more of like a bigger fan base. Like in the UK, boxing's really big, right?
Yeah.
It's really big, and there's been like a lot of British like champions probably.
Yeah.
So I don't know, it's just cool. It's like it's a sport that I don't know that, maybe I'm wrong, but I just don't know that ice skating has that same international
Appeal. Yeah, maybe it's a little bit niche, but I mean, I think Japan has like some really hard, really high quality sportsmen recently. Like for example, Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah, but again, these are also like professional sports too. Like whereas ice skating is what it's still it's amateur, and I think that's the difference too. It's like there's money behind professional sports, and when there's a lot more eyes behind it because like people are making money off of it, you know. So that when people stand to make money off something, they invest more into it, I guess. Not necessarily the fans, but just. And I think that's what makes. I think maybe there's probably some really good Japanese athletes in amateur sports, like things like in Olympic competition and things like that. Maybe they do well, but as far as, and this could just be because like I'm American, but like, I'm gonna know more about American athletes. But I know some European athletes too who play like football, who are playing like professional sports. Like I don't know that Japan now has like Otani, right?
Yeah, Shohei Otani.
And Naomi Osaka.
Naomi Osaka, yeah, and you had Nishikori Kei, he was pretty good. But I mean, Naomi Osaka was like the best of the best. Shohei Otani is the best of the best.
Yeah.
You've got
but he's kind of in that realm, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
he's always like the best of the best.
He's like an elite he's elite, he's considered, I guess, elite among a group of elite fighters. And that's cool, it's like, it's cool to, because I don't think people necessarily think of, people don't have that idea of Japan.
Having elite.
Yeah, or just like, of like, I think of Japan.
I think largely with boxing as well, boxercise.
Yeah, boxercise.
It is, well, alright, look, I should clear this up. This is a joke, it's not boxercise. I know it's boxing, alright? It's boxing, not boxercise. So, I think another thing with boxing is it's your personality. It's a very, very, it depends a lot on your personality. And I think, I believe it's because of Prince Nassim, the British boxer. He was very showy, very flashy. And then when you look at Tyson Fury and some of the things he has done in weigh-ins and in press conferences, the one that springs to mind immediately is dressing up as Batman.
Yeah, right, yeah. Or he got his ring walk was like he was on a throne, being carried out to like
the ring walk,
Patsy Cline song.
The ring walk as well.
Yeah, and that's like boxers. That's another thing, and that makes, any sport or just, but particularly like when there's just two people, it's like the temperament and the character of the two people, and seeing, what the results are going to be is what it's so interesting to me. Like seeing different personalities and the lead up to it, and then like, because everyone like, I don't know, in like a team sport, it's different. I don't think there's less pressure. I think in some ways maybe there's more pressure because you have to collaborate with a lot of other people, but you're not just seeing, it comes with its own challenges, right? You're trying to coordinate a bunch of different personalities, a bunch of people with a bunch of different ideas and temperaments and stuff like that. But with combat sports, with like the MMA stuff, the boxing and the judo and things like that, it's just these two people sort of clashing with each other. And I don't know, that's just really interesting to me. And you're talking about Nassim, and he has like a lot of boxers have like a lot of bravado and stuff like that, or like
a lot of fighters.
A lot of fighters, but that's what's interesting too about. There's exceptions to this, obviously. Like Kid Norifumi, like Yamamoto, he was like a really big MMA fighter, and he was kind of brash and like noisy. But I think generally maybe like Japanese boxers, they kind of carry themselves in maybe a different way than like Western fighters do, and it's cool. It's cool seeing that, like seeing that sort of presentation of like discipline, and just seeing that aspect of like Japanese culture on that stage is cool to me. I don't think they're like more disciplined necessarily, but to see that presentation of discipline and that presentation of like dedication and commitment to like a sport, I think that's cool. And
I think it's a case of they're not cocky.
I think cockiness is maybe like sort of frowned upon.
Yeah, and I think like there are a lot of fighters that are cocky in order to get a competitive advantage as well.
Yeah, I think it really gets in people's like heads probably, and maybe another aspect of it is it's it's like it's like a fake it till you make it sort of situation, maybe. But it doesn't seem to be part of like the real ethos of Japanese sports or martial arts, or
Yeah.
and I guess I don't know where, you know. I mean, that's another. I mean, this can go into so many different directions too, right? Because boxing is such a like individual sport, right? And it's taking place in a society that I guess people tend to think of as a bit more collectivist than maybe a Western society, which is more individually focused, individually oriented, which would seem to maybe favor, you know, a sport like boxing, which is very much about you and what you can do, which isn't, you know, necessarily true because there's a whole team of people behind you. But you know, it's interesting to see how these sorts of these cultural things they shape the personality and, you know, and how people fight and things like that is just cool. Aside from just like the individual personality, just to see these like larger cultural things.
Yeah, because it's I think like a lot of British fighters. I mean, I say Prince Nassim, he was very cocky. Cocky basically just means namaiki. So yeah, namaiki, someone who thinks of all that kind of thing. And Prince Nassim is kind of an exception. A lot of British fighters are quite humble, I think.
Yeah.
They don't. I mean, Tyson Fury, another exception. But like, for example, Lennox Lewis.
Ah, that's true. Yeah.
Can you imagine Lennox Lewis or like Frank Bruno or Chris Eubank?
Chris Eubank. Yeah.
Being-
He had like a subtle sort of cockiness, but I guess you wouldn't really call it cocky, you know?
No, he wouldn't rub it in someone's face. Although there
isn't
is.
that same like bravado necessarily.
Yeah. So I guess like I mean, seeing how cultures shape these kind of athletes.
Yeah, I feel like American boxing too, and just like Americans generally, we're just like a little bit more outgoing with that kind of stuff, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say Deontay
right.
Wilder is not so cocky, but then he's done some kind of very strange things.
Deontay Wilder?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess like, yeah, he doesn't strike me as like being the cockiest fighter or something, but yeah, I mean.
And against Tyson Fury in the weigh-in and stuff. Like,
I think, yeah.
Some strange thing.
Yeah, but Tyson Fury is so strange too that it's like, you know, you gotta fight the strange with the strange, you know?
Nah, I think that's weird.
So, but someone like Mike Tyson or something comes to mind. It's like an obvious example talking about like eating people's children or something, you know? Like, you know, just thinking you're the best ever, you're the best to ever do it, you know? That sort of spirit. And to be so, like, outspoken about it, you know? I don't know if, like, I just can't, I don't, maybe I'm mistaken, but, like, it's just hard for me to imagine a Japanese boxer coming out and saying, like, I'm the best to ever do it. But then, I mean, I don't speak Japanese, so maybe in the interviews that's what they're saying.
Yeah, maybe that is what they're saying. I'm the best, and no one's gonna beat me. I float like a butterfly sting.
I just imagine these guys saying like, "I will try my hardest," you know, something like that, something like mildly self-effacing, you know.
Yeah, I can imagine them saying like, I can imagine them saying that. Whereas like someone like Conor McGregor.
Yeah, like McGregor's like the cockiest, you know.
Well, of course I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna beat him. He's just gonna like.
He's telling you what round it's gonna happen in, and you know, like. But that's the thing. That's what makes it so compelling, right? And that's like it's cool to have like in this particular fight, neither of them are cocky. Like the guy at Fulton is like just seems like a very calm, like quietly confident sort of person who's just like been slowly like working his way up, and just seems like yeah, strikes me as somebody who's like incredibly confident in their ability, and just yeah.
And Inoue is around the same. Just
I guess he's different. He actually, Inoue seems more cocky out of the two of them, which just contradicts everything we were just talking about. But he's not like super outspoken or something. But the way he's like.
I mean, at some point you do have to show. I mean, it stops being cockiness; it just starts being confidence. And being on the pound for pound list, doesn't that warrant his
cockiness?
Yeah, confidence.
Yeah, it's just I guess it seems like Yeah, for sure. Yeah. It's a fine line. I don't know. But at the same time, there's nothing wrong with it. I think that's what makes it so interesting when like those two personalities like clash. You have one who's like super like cocky or super like braggadocious or something, or like really outgoing in that way, you know, and then you have another who's like the total opposite, and you just see like how those styles, how those personalities are going to translate, if they translate, if there's any relationship between the ability to fight or not. It's just like that's also what sells the fight, because it is entertainment, you know?
Yeah, and I think America nor Japan enjoy when a cocky person kind of wins. I think the cocky person, the person who's...
Well, that's the whole thing with being the heel, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Being the heel is like being the bad guy, yeah?
Yeah.
And being the face is being the good guy. And you kind of need a face and a heel when it comes to boxing or something. I mean, apart from following your nationality, or he's American, so I'll support him, or
Yeah.
she's British, so I'll support her. It's just this personality. You get behind these personalities.
Yeah.
So, my final of two questions. Who's going to win? Who do you think's going to win?
I really don't know, because I don't, like I said, I mean, I've never seen the dude from Philly like really fight. I was watching highlights the other day. And like, I don't know that much about Inoue, and also I'm like a bit skeptical when there's so much. Sometimes things get so hyped behind some person that you can't separate like fact from fiction, because it is entertainment, and it is like there's an element where it is a money-making endeavor. So there's money behind this guy. So honestly, I don't know. But part of me really feels like Fulton's gonna win though, because he's bigger. He's probably stronger, and he's really good. He's like really technically sound, and he's super like, he seems like an elusive fighter. Like he's probably hard to hit, and like I don't think that he's fought like many American fighters, if any. So I don't know that he really knows that style, because I think it's a lot different.
He's fought. I don't know. He's fought. I don't know a lot about boxing, so well look.
But it could go either way. I think that's the general consensus, is that it's just like two very highly skilled guys going at it, and it could go either way.
You have a feeling that
I just feel like
Fulton's going to win?
it feels like an upset situation.
And if he does win, that will be an upset.
It'll be in terms of like the odds.
Yeah.
Because people, like on the one hand, you have a guy who has all this like notoriety, and he's on this pound for pound list, and then you have this guy that people don't really know about. So yeah, it would be, and also just from an odds standpoint, like in terms of like betting, I think he's a big underdog.
I mean, but I know Inoue is technically a very, very good fighter.
No, he is. I mean, that's what people say. So, and then what do you call it? I don't know. I just have this feeling. It's the same feeling I had when Canelo was fighting this guy Bivol.
Canelo lost.
He lost, and like I really like Canelo, but
Canelo
Alvarez. I really like Bivol too. I think Bivol is just like a really interesting person, and really seems like a very genuine person, and who's also just really good at boxing. But there was something about, and again, this is like what makes fighting interesting, is the lead up to it, is like watching people's personality and their character. There was just something about the way that he spoke about like the fight, and the way that he carried himself.
Who's this?
Dimitri Bivol, along with obviously his like what he had achieved before then. Like he'd been beating good guys, and he had a belt in his own weight class. That like there was something about that quiet confidence, and how like he just seemed so unflappable. He just seemed so like he was just totally like engaged with the moment in a way that like I think sometimes fame and celebrity takes you away from it. Canelo's like this famous guy, is this famous guy. He's doing famous guy stuff. There's the pressure of that, but Bivol is just like, he was a boxer, and he's just supremely confident in his boxing ability, and he just carried himself that way. And I remember having this feeling like this dude like might win. And I never really had that feeling before. I guess there's another parallel in that they're both higher weights too. Like Bivol was bigger than Canelo, but there's something just about the temperament of both of these guys that makes me feel like I'm like Fulton might have this. Like,
so Fulton might win, but you want Inoue to win.
Yeah, I want Inoue to win, but if Fulton wins, that would be dope too. He's from Philly.
Okay, so look, I have a question. This was going to be one of the two questions. Did Canelo Alvarez and Bivol have a rematch?
No, they didn't. I think Canelo fought two guys since he fought Bivol, and he beat both of them. But he hasn't fought Bivol yet. I think he wants to, but
just getting timing right.
I mean, there's all sorts of like boxing is like. Yeah, boxing is weird because it's not like other organized sports where I think they just have like a more. There's a season, a schedule of who you play, and boxing is like it's just these sort of individual people who have management teams like trying to draw up contracts and like entice each other to fight each other. And it's also boxing is difficult because if you lose one fight, it's like really damages your reputation and money-making ability in a way that like it damages your career in a way that losing a soccer match doesn't.
Yeah.
You know, like a boxer might fight 50 times professionally. Like how many games does a professional?
Or a tennis player, I mean, a one-on-one match.
Yeah.
Tennis players. But I mean, that's the thing. I think the reason behind that is that there are far fewer boxing matches per person. Like
I mean,
in 1 year, you have maximum 3
or 4, yeah, maybe. Because it's too dangerous. Dude.
Yeah.
I think the amount of damage that you can't just be getting your head hit that many times in a year. You're gonna.
No, you can't do that. Just stop it. Hey, last question. Mark Zuckerberg versus Elon Musk.
Right. Yeah. No interest in that whatsoever.
You're telling me you're not interested in watching that?
No, it's like that's just so. It's like, what is that? Why is that interesting? I just don't get it. Like the whole point of like what makes fighting interesting is what makes anything interesting. Any competitive sort of any competition interesting is that you have two people who are really good at what they do.
Yeah.
And then you're seeing who is better.
Yeah, but you're thinking of competitive boxing. This is reality TV in a way.
Yeah.
And the whole thing about reality TV and about this is that it's taking two people who are not good at this thing. And actually, Mark Zuckerberg is a talented fighter. Like he's won some.
Yeah, but what if I just took two schmucks who didn't know how to play the piano and they had a piano contest? They would just be horrible. It's like they practiced piano for like 5 months each of them. It's like two 40-year-old men. You took them, two rich guys who had like and then they're playing both seeing who can play chopsticks better. You know, like I have no interest in that.
There's a market for that. That's interesting. Seeing who these two guys practicing the piano, see who's going to be better. There's a market for that.
Yeah, no,
that sounds like a really, really interesting idea.
Oh, specifically for this.
That sounds like an interesting idea. Now, Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk, to answer your question, it's like you taking two pianos. It's not, because no one gets injured playing the piano.
But also, that's never going to happen. Do you know, like, honestly, like, I mean, I think, like, maybe legally, can either of them do that? Like, don't they have some responsibility to, like, their investors or something?
No, they can do that.
Really? Yeah. But, like, in an actual fight, like, they could die. They could get...
But it's not, because it's going to be...
An exhibition or something?
It's an exhibition.
But then it's not even a contest, right? So what's the point? It's just like they're not even really fighting.
Because apparently they don't really like each other. So
they're gonna have this like WWF like.
It's not gonna be WWF. It's not gonna be scripted.
If I didn't really like somebody, and I had to like, imagine not liking somebody and then having to do like 3 months of PR with them, and then not even getting to really fight them after that, having some sort of semi-scripted.
I don't think it's going to be scripted. I think there is going to be fighting involved. It's MMA, yeah?
But how? That just seems
It's in a
like
cage. It's in an octagon.
that just seems like such a huge risk. Like those dudes are worth billions of dollars.
But Mark Zuckerberg does fight in tournaments against real people. And I don't know.
That's true.
And recently, a lot of celebrities have been taking it up, and I don't know why. But look, we've gone way over time.
I just feel like, you know, like the WBC, the World Baseball Classic or whatever, was so popular this year because I think more MLB players like actually played, but normally they don't because there's the potential to be injured, and there's so much at stake in the actual league that matters that they don't want them. This just seems like that, but like 100-fold.
No, because if one of them get injured, they can still work.
Yeah, that's true. No, it's totally different because they're not using their body to work. Yeah. Mark Zuckerberg can get like fracture his like spine and still, you know.
Fracturing his spine.
I'm just saying this stuff is dangerous, man. Like if you're actually fighting, it's incredibly dangerous.
I feel like it would be more dangerous for Elon Musk. There's no formal training.
And also, isn't he like close to 50?
Over 50.
He's over 50?
Yeah.
That's insane.
I think he's over 50.
50-year-olds should not be fighting in any walk of life.
Dude, tell Mike Tyson that.
I think a lot of people have told Mike Tyson that. Probably most people that care about him like have told him like, dude,
I'm not gonna take that advice.
yeah.
I'm not gonna take that advice. I'm gonna go and beat the crap out of this guy.
But yeah, I mean, like, but that's different too because he's been fighting his whole life and he's doing exhibitions, so he knows how to like. There is like he probably knows. I just feel like people who don't know how to fight and then do fight are probably at a greater risk of getting like very injured. Speaking as somebody who didn't know how to really fight and got injured, not in a fight, but like doing like a combat sport, that sort of thing.
Oh, that's our time. We went way over time.
Yeah, that was a lot.
Yeah,
It was good though.
it was good.
Yeah.
That's got really into it. He got really into it. You see that?
Yeah, it's an interesting.
Yeah.
It's an interesting topic, I guess. Yeah.
We'll see you in the next one
Soon.
soon. Yeah, maybe next week.
Yeah.
Enjoy the fight.
All right.